Hello, everyone. So today we are going to discuss the last part of our disaster readiness and risk reduction concept, yung introduction po natin. We've learned already the different types of hazard, what is hazard, what are the ingredients para sabihin natin there is a disaster, and nagkakaroon ng disaster risk if your hazard meets your vulnerable population, mga ganon. So, yun po. This time, we're going to discuss your purpose of your disaster risk reduction, and the characteristics of your disaster, and also the impacts of disaster. So these are the three topics that we're going to discuss in this recorded lesson. First is your disaster risk reduction. When we say disaster risk reduction aims to decrease, kasi from the name na reduction, word na reduction, no? Decrease the risk level in communities. So it implements policies and measures to control potential risks. So there is a mitigation na nangyayari, and we already defined what is mitigation sa previous lesson that we had. Now, what is the purpose of your disaster risk reduction? First is reduce vulnerability to life, property, or environment to an existing hazard. Yes, sometimes no, ang isang place natin, isang population or sa isang community, there is always talaga hazard na hindi natin naiiwasan na nagkakaroon tayo ng hazard. No? So, na merong hazard, even sa iyong kwarto, sa iyong bahay, sa classroom, there is a hazard. No? Maraming hazard kahit saan ka pumunta, there's a hazard na makikita niyo. Or anything na normally andyan lang but it impose a threat, that's why nagiging hazard siya. Like for example, your table, ayan, yung table na nasa gitna lang ng classroom natin or nasa front ng classroom natin, it can be a hazard to a teacher like me. Nakiatan ka ay sa classroom, magsigla ko lakaw, kaperminti ko masangit. The worst is I had an experience na nasingit yun akong pants, nagisi yun siya, so may lubot na part. And because nasangit siya dito sa table. So it can be considered as a hazard. So the purpose of a DRR, again, is to reduce the vulnerability of the population, ng may buhay, property, or environment or the society from the existing hazard. So ayun po. So ayun, ang ginawa ni Sir Roy kay may malaki tuloy, may maliit man na nail na naka-puslit noon, parang naka-siwil-siwil siya sa table mo, to naging hazard siya. Ginawa is, nilagyan na lang namin ng cover or nilagyan namin ng parang maliit na plant na may cactus para dito siya magtindog para dili siya ma-notice siya always na ay nalito something dito. Yan, no? Syempre wala na mag-attempt og dok kay katungalan sang mo to nagsiwil siya class kay gi-repair lang po to sa estudyante ang table. Ayan. Tapos masyado malaki yung nail na ginamit niya. Kung niya pong iduktok diretso mo lampas po siya, so mas delikado ang may tabo. Ayan. So mo to, ihayaan na lang na mo. Ayan. Okay. Ano naman, Sir Roy, walang alam masyado sa mga panday-panday. Ayan. Next, increase preparedness through proper mitigation procedures. So, sabi natin kanina, there will be mitigation procedures na ibibigay sa inyo para mas maging prepare ang isang society or community. Now, what are the characteristics of disasters? Ano pala meron sa disaster natin? First, your disasters are inherently unexpected or come quickly with little or no warning. So it can cause widespread death, injury, and property damage. So pinakalit lang ni siya class. It is unexpected, no? Sometimes may nga nga, expected mo, no? Kaya naman sila puyo sa sapa. But usay po, di mo na tumingon nga ma-predict na, ay, sakarakeit ang tubig. Like for example, what happened in Matina Pangi, no? Katong time na si Mayor Sara na gidukdok na, gisuntok na sheriff sa Agdao, no? Itong sa Pangi, dagang kay itong namatay atong nga time. No, kay biglaan lang po to siya. It's very unexpected. I know, hazardous ang magpuyo near the river, pero wala po siya na-expect ni na atong kakusog sa tubig na mukalitag abot atong agabi sa ilang lugar. So disasters are inherently unexpected or completely with little or no warning. And it may cause widespread injury, death, and property damage. And next, disaster cannot be managed through normal means. So it needs immediate intervention no, from both, no, hindi siya normal means. Matin ba hindi siya ma-manage to normal means? Kasi ganito yan, pag may, di ba naman na sila mga protocol class, di ba? Like for example, pag may sunog o ganito ang mangyayari, ganito ang gagawin ng BFP or ganito ang gagawin ng 911, this is how are they going to respond. Yes, na sila protocol, but it will always differ from the severity or level sa disaster na ilahang pwede ma-encounter. That is why pwede siya consider na it cannot be managed through normal means, no? Dili siya pwede nga kanang normal lang nga pwede nga hose sa tubig lang gamiton. Magdepende siya klase sa severity sa imuhang disaster. So, ang best way class, no, para tugunan agad ang isang disaster, it needs intermediate intervention of both your national government agencies and at the same time your NGOs or your non-government organization. Tama ba ako? NGOs? Ayan. So, ayan po. Your NGAs and your NGOs. Ayan. So, kailangan they should work hand in hand. Like for example, sa image natin dito, government plus Red Cross. Kasi may Red Cross dyan. Assuming they're a Red Cross team. Ayan. So, ayan po. So, Red Cross is NGO yan siya. Ayan. So, nagtutulungan sila. No? Both private sectors and public government, no, the government mismo agencies should work hand in hand para mas mabilis matugunan ang isang disaster. Another one, disasters no political boundaries. Opo, disaster knows no political boundaries. Dili na siya ngayon niya na mao na ang Davao gilinog permente kay ang presidente na to taga Davao yan ginabash na dito sa Manila and all sa mga taga Luzon or anyone even yet dito sa Davao na nagabash pag kay president. So ni mangina na it doesn't know any political boundaries class, no? No political boundaries. Dili na siya pwede nga dito lang sa Manila kay mga mangtas mga tao dito. Dili lang sa Davao kay mga kuan na dira. Dito sa kuan na dili na siya pwedeng inana. Ay kato mga dilawan sila lang ang linugon. Sila lang ang baon. No, dili po na. Mga DDS, ang mga DDS lang dapat ang linugon kasi sila tong mga tanga-tangaon. Dili pwede inana. Okay? Wala inana sa disaster. Next, it creates new tasks and requires more people as disaster responders. So in every disaster, there are new ways to respond. Yun nga sabi natin, it is unique, no? Magdadepende talaga yan siya sa severity and sa location. Like, wala man yung na-appeal sa unang magbaha diri, karon na-appeal na lagi ni siya, no? So there are changes na nangyayari sa ating environment also. So in every disaster, again, there are new ways to respond and it depends on a kind of disaster na i-respond po. Ayan, so it will create new tasks and of course more people as disaster responders. Mugay nga usahay, ang uban nagapangitan na lang mga volunteers, na ubinig volunteers here, kita ng responders na ana sa field. So wala na yung nag-prepare para sa mga relief goods or sa mga pa-noodles or palugaw sa mga tao na nasa evacuation center. Ayan. Next, it worsens confusion in understanding roles of people and organization. Opo, no? Lumalabas talaga yung confusion always pagka nagkakaroon ng disaster. Like what had happened, sa Cagayan Valley na flooding, no? So na ay grupo nga coordinate, ako isa grupo din naga-coordinate pod. So nagka-cause ng confusion, asa man jud mo sunod, no? Nagka-confusion na. So it worsens confusion in understanding the roles of people and organization. Kaya na po yung mga private group na magbut-buot na lang o adto diretso dito without coordination sa mga tao or people na dapat nila i-coordinate para maiwasan ang bubot. Like for example, naisa ka grupo na private group na gusto mag-donate ng food or relief goods. Now, tapos pag abot nila dito sa area class, wala man sila nakipag-coordinate, nag-cause na inon o stampede, inilugay na ang mga tao. So, ayun. So, nagkagubot na inuon. So, kailangan mag-coordinate na siya always. Okay? So, dili na siya pwede nga magpataka na lang o kanang go lang ng go sa mga activities ninyo. So, it worsens confusion in understanding roles of people and organization. Okay? Next. Trivia. I don't know if narinig nyo to. During the first SONA of President Duterte, nung naging president na siya, maganda talaga yung plano niya class na yung there should be a different department, no, a national government agency, separate lang talaga na sa kanya lang talaga lahat nakafocus in any forms of disaster. Sabi niya, ito yung tinatawag na Department of Disaster. Maganda sana yun siya class para ang coordination na isa lang good class. Sila na tanan ang magtutok sa tanan, maglihok-lihok. So, and if that's the case, so if naning office for that Department of Disaster, so ang ilang focus lang sa ilang work is more on mitigation, disaster prevention, mahina na. So mas dagan sila ma-reach, no? Kay ang ilang focus na lang man silang work, ikana na lang man, dili na mahati ilang attention sa laing butang. Kay katulang man jud ilang focus sa work nila. At the same time, siguro napasiyon na sila yung mga ma-innovate na mga materials na or equipments na pwede magamit in times of disaster. So mas nindot jud ang tapong na atong Department of Disaster. I don't know if ma-push through siya before the end of the term of President Duterte. Sayang lang. Yun. Share ko lang. Yun lang. Next, another one is exposes lack of disaster planning, response, and coordination. So inexperienced disaster organization often fail to see what their proper roles are. No, ang problema ay nani mo gid siya class aside ka ng pag sabot na pag unexpected na disaster, especially in a place na dili siya usually, like for example, wala man niya ginabaha, dili nga nabahaan man ni galit. So makita inon dito mabooking, no, kung prepared ba ang isa ka lugar or dili, no? So muna mag-cause of panic, na mag-create na naman ng confusion, magkakagulo-gulo na. Ayan. So it exposes lack of disaster planning, response, and coordination. Ayan po. I'm not really sure, but partly siguro because it was the first time, di naman first time ang storm surge dito sa Leyte, but I mean, it was the first time na ito kakusog ng storm surge ang na-hit, no, sa Philippines, na-experience sa Philippines. So, mo siguro to na nakita dyan niya, dagang kulang, no? Dagang kulang sa pagplano, sa pag-mitigate, sa pag-stop, or possibility na makasunod ang storm surge. That is why one of the project na build, no? They created a coastal road there. Tapos, that coastal road is medyo mataas. At the same time, naapadyod sila yung mga gibutang na water breaker sa unahan dapit na part. Eh, pero pag nagkaroon ng storm surge, mahit una ang water breaker. So, the pressure ang force ng water is mas mo decrease na, plus mo bangga siya sa coastal road or seawall na ilang i-create. So, mas malesen na ang tulak. So, in case man na mag-overflow pa rin ng water sa road, at least, dili na kayo na nakakusog ang tubig niya tulak na makadestroy yung mga structures along the way. Ayan. Okay? Next, let's talk about the impacts of your disaster. What are the effects of your disaster? Ayan, ito yung mga baha. Example ng baha natin. So there is first is medical effects, no? The medical effect of your disaster, it can cause traumatic injuries, correct? Emotional stress, yes. And epidemic diseases like your leptospirosis, ayan. So yan, pumapasok din siya. Even your dengue, pumapasok din dyan. So these are your medical effects of your disaster. Again, traumatic injuries, emotional stress, and epidemic diseases. Another one, damage to your critical facilities, such as your communication installations, electrical generating and transmission facilities, no? And your hospitals. So your disaster can destroy or damage facilities that may be critical not only in maintaining, no, a safe environment and public order, but also in responding to the disaster itself. For example, parehan na communication installation, your mga tower ninyo na yung cell site na bungkag, so lisod kayong communication. So mas maglisod din yung i-reach, no, ma-reach out ang mga tao na kailangan i-rescue. So ayun po. So dako kayo og problema pag inaana na case. Like for example, yung the recent case natin doon sa Cagayan Valley, there are certain areas na wala ng signal or wala ng kuryente. So ayun, nagka-problema na, nahirapan na i-reach out and i-communicate ang mga tao. Same with what happened sa Leyte, no, sa Haiyan, Typhoon Haiyan or Yolanda. Okay, next. Another one, your water facilities. Ano pa? Damage to critical facilities pa rin pa. Your water facilities, your other public and private buildings. No, water facilities such as your storage, purification area, and your pumping area of your water. No, pagka ni madaot na, contaminated na ang tubig. So it may cause na diseases na naman or sakit sa mga tao. Ayan, okay? So, dagan og effect, no, ang inyuhang disaster. Another one, there is a disruption of transportation. So broken bridges and roads, streets are impassable by landslide or floods. No, with impassable roads, class, it can cause delay for the rescuers. So mas maglisod sila abot sa area kung asa sila or need nila mag-render of rescue. Another one is your economic impact. Economic activities and business operations are curtailed. Of course, mapipilitan ka mag-close, no? Siyempre, sa pamimpalit mo, busy kayang tanan, or ang imong business mismo ang na-damage ng mga products mo. People will also leave their job and use their time for disaster-related activities such as cleaning their area, their house, no? Mo absent na lang, tapos manuwork ko, pa jud agoy kasakit, yan, no? So, luoy pod kaayo. So, there is an increasing evidence, class, no? For global environmental change tayo, ayan. So there is increasing evidence of global climate change brought about by both human activity and disasters. So there is more cyclic storm na na-experience nato, and there is increase in flooding and drought. No, mas taas ang time na naga-flooding, ay naga-drought, napoy pong panahon niya, grabe po ang baha-baha. So climate change, that is climate change. Global environmental change, so there is a wide range of hazards such as your wildfires and mudslides, reduced productivity in the ocean, yes, disturb po ang ato ang mga marine life nato, and it weaken the immune systems of people and animals. Yes, lalo na pag na-stress pa dito, lalo mas magbaba pa ang immunity. So, immune system. So, prone for diseases na po or sakit-sakit. Ayan. Okay? Ano pa? Your social and political impact. So, I think this is the last part. The poor are the most vulnerable group in the community, and they are greatly affected by disasters. No? Poor people live in marginalized land, so therefore ang ilang mga houses dito are not that strong, so therefore they are very prone for disaster. Ayan po. So these are the different impacts of your disasters or effects. Now, talking about your resilience, ayan. Resilience is the ability of the individual to recover from the impact of a disaster. Mo ganin na mo yung ingon, Mayor Sarah dito sa Davao, no? Stand tall, resilient. Mga Dabawenyo are resilient. Ayan. No, kahit nagkakaroon ng disaster, still we stand tall, no? Dili ta basta-basta nga magpa pildi sa ato ang mga na-experience, no? Like for example, katong bombing sa Rojas, di ba? Buong na kayo to, pagkaugma, still di pa open gyapon ni sir, di ta magpadlok-adlok, mag-open gyapon ta sa atong night market. Nag-open sila class ni adto jud ko ato, pero gamay lang kay nagtinda kay syempre mga vendors ng trauma po, ang katulang dyan na ninda itong nag-take risk lang po dyan na para lang na yung makaon, na yung kita, or na yung halin. And then, dilipid na ito kadala ng mga tao kaya siguro nahadlok po dyan siya. Ako lang ka-arisgada atong time kung gusto kong makaon kung chicken proven. Ayan, ganun. So, what are the factors that increases the resilience of an individual? The social support. Ayan, napaka-importante ng social support natin and coping confidence. Without your coping confidence class, walang virtues of hope and confident. Pag wala kay ina na class, no, how are you going to cope with such experience, no? Pag naka-experience ka disaster, lisod ka ayo ng inana. So, these are the different factors that increases the resilience of an individual. It needs your social support and your coping confidence. That's it. So that's the last part of our introduction or the concepts of your disaster risk reduction readiness subject. Thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.